Penrose.
At bleeding last, it's here. We have been waiting for years. Alleluia, that it has finally arrived. And we've all heard some of the history about how long we've been waiting for this. It's also true to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that a few years ago, Britain was in the forefront of this legislation. In fact, in some respects, we are still the one-eyed man in the land of the blind. There are still many other countries which don't have even the initial steps of beneficial ownership transparency, which we have long had in this country. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it is absolutely essential, but because we have the City of London here, because we have wholesale financial markets, which are the envy of many other countries in the world, that makes us having to live up to a much higher standard than many other countries already have to do, and that means that we have to go further. We know we have loopholes in our existing laws, and it is absolutely time and past time that we plug those loopholes, that we get on with this, and that we move to fill in the gaps, which this bill is the first step on the road. But it is only a first step, and I am delighted as well, Madam Deputy Speaker, to hear the promise of more in the White Paper and the promise of a second bill, I hope, as my right honourable friend from Barking said, I hope early in the next session, because only if we do both these things in parallel, in tandem with each other, will we finish the job which was started back in 2015 or 2016, depending on which version of history we all adhere to. And it is also essential, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm delighted that the manuscript amendment, which has been tabled in the name of myself and my honourable friend from Thirsk and Moulton, about trying to speed up the application to make sure that that oligarchs that own property in this country and will want at the moment, they will even now be searching for buyers to palm the asset off onto so they can get their money out, because they know that we are moving and they know that they have some time as things currently stand in order to complete their transactions. It is absolutely vital that we move to do this faster, and I'm delighted that we're going to have a chance in the later section of this bill to consider the manuscript amendment. I give way.
Thank my very good friend for allowing me to intervene. I presume this bill will hopefully freeze assets. Would the second part of the bill, when it comes, actually allow confiscation of assets? I hope it might, in which case we might even put it to good use and help the people of Ukraine. Is that out of the question?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, that's a question which I think probably the Minister sitting in his place, who I know who was listening carefully, will be able to answer in his summing up. But to my gallant and honourable friend's point, you can't sanction an oligarch's cash if you don't know where it is. So the first step, the absolutely essential initial step, is to rip back the veils of anonymity so that we can find it, so we know what we are looking at, and so we can at least stop it from leaving the country before we then move on to those other steps. There are two other points, Madam Speaker, which I just wanted to mention, which I hope that the Minister in his seat at the moment will be able to address in his summing up remarks. And those are things which could be in this bill but aren't, and I hope that they will either appear later or they will appear in the follow-up bill which we are all being promised. The first of those is proper measures to deal with whistleblowers. We've heard a great deal already about the importance of enforcement. Enforcement is vital, but it is so much faster, so much better, and so much better applied if there is proper whistleblowing legislation in place. And again, Madam Deputy Speaker, like the points about transparency of beneficial ownership, a few years ago this country's legislation on whistleblower protection was one of the best in the world. But the world has moved on, other countries have overtaken us, and we urgently need to improve the quality of our whistleblower legislation. It's good that the Minister who will be responding is from the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, because it is in his department that the whistleblowing team sits. And I fear, Madam Deputy Speaker, that they are well behind the curve of where we need to be if we're going to move promptly on this. We have a long way to go and a great deal of thinking to do, and I hope that he will be able to make some commitments when he gets to his feet at the end of this second reading in order to bring it in very briefly.
Very briefly. I will be very briefly. New Clause 14 and New Clause 27 both deal with the establishment of an office for the whistleblower to do exactly what he sets out.
Absolutely, I acknowledge that point, and I'm not sure whether or not the government will be able to accept it, but even if it doesn't, I hope that it will therefore be able to make some commitments about what it intends to do very soon in order to plug those undoubted gaps. The final point I want to make, Madam Deputy Speaker, is about trusts. My honourable friend from South Thanet, in the Home Secretary's initial remarks, made a point about trusts, and it is absolutely essential that we don't forget that one of the issues which we're dealing with here is to do with companies, because they are an excellent vehicle, as has been proven, for covering up the ownership of assets. We've also heard from the spokesman from the SNP about the problems which have in the past accrued for Scottish limited partnerships. It is equally true that trusts can be misused and could be misused and potentially are being misused in exactly the same way. This legislation does something for the use of trusts when it comes to unexplained wealth orders. It does not do the same thing for disclosing both the settlers, the trustees and the potential beneficiaries of trusts for everything else. And those vehicles could easily be misused, and we do not want, Madam Deputy Speaker, to be coming back in a couple of years' time saying, if only we had thought to plug that loophole at the same time. So I hope that my honourable friend, the Minister, when he gets to his feet, will be able to deal with that omission and promise us some progress on that very soon.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I rise to support this bill, and I'm delighted to hear the full-throated support from across the House for this bill. As the anti-corruption czar in 2015 to 16, I had some role in putting together the policies that are finally making it onto the statute book now in what I regard as the first half of the economic crime bill. And I pay tribute to the current anti-corruption czar, who's done a magnificent job of making progress since. And
I thank my the right honourable lady, because she's just highlighted the role of our anti-corruption czar, my honourable friend for Weston-super-Mare, who I have to say has been supporting the government at every level. And if I may say so, he has also supported me with a lot of our work on illicit finance and economic crime. He comes to our round tables, spends a lot of time with the city and on transparency. So, Mr. Speaker, just for the benefit of everyone in this House, we have that function up and running. We have a superb colleague absolutely supporting this government on all those measures, and I'm very grateful to him for his work. Mr. Speaker,